Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gollum's Gamers, where today I'm joined by Ali once again here for possibly the least emergency podcasts that we've done on the channel. I would say Ali was just saying we are extremely late to the party on this one. I'm afraid, as we are going to be covering the Legacies article that went up on Tuesday this week. So that was 3 whole days ago now. There were people commenting on previous emergency podcasts, asking where our video was. There were messages coming in on Instagram. There was even a post on the GBHL Facebook page asking where our take was on the news. So we are here to deliver. Apologies for the lateness, but we're here to give our take, our view on the Legacies update. Are you excited for this, Ali? Come on, I can see you're brimming with anticipation.
Yeah.
Your dwarves have been gutted.
I think this is probably going to be the least positive, optimistic pod. It's
Oh,
hard when it's an article just about taking away and not really about giving. But
yes, Ali does like to take instead of give.
I know.
As we know, no
Share and
judgment.
share alike.
No judgment. I thought I'd ask as well. So because obviously, like, there's lots of people that know exactly what was and wasn't in the books and things. Obviously, I don't know that. Have you read the books? Are you a book buff?
I wouldn't say I'm a book buff, but I've read the books. Like, there's way too
Right.
many people in this hobby who are like so
Who are
lore
literally
deep
everything. But
scholars
you
that
have
I
read the
definitely.
books. Okay. Have you read like the Silmarillion and stuff? No.
Yeah, more or less, but not for
No.
like a decade. I mean,
Sure.
The Silmarillion isn't a book in the traditional novel sense, I would say.
Sure.
It's more
Yes.
like the Bible of Middle Earth. So
Of Middle Earth, yes, sure. But you have
yeah.
read it at some point. Okay, sure. So
Mm.
your expertise should be helpful here. Now, but you were saying it might not be the most positive, but I mean, I think there's some things that people have maybe taken a little bit too literally in the article, and until it's sort of confirmed and we see it, it might not actually be the case yet. So yeah, we will come to it. But anyway, Middle Earth Strategy Battle Game, the upcoming range update explained. So there's a bit of fluff at the start. Then they move on to a comment from the design studio about the Knight of the White Tower, but that's not too relevant. But anyway, moving on. The first kind of bit of notes here, I would say, is that said, we have also reviewed our factions and tried to boil them down to eras from the movies and books, which we want to focus on. Therefore, a few characters such as Banderbrastook and Golfimble, who come from the books, have moved to Legacy. So while they want the factions to move to eras from the books and films, there are still some characters from the books that have still been moved to Legacies. So most of these miniatures will be going off sale, and some have already been available for a while, but they will still be receiving Legacies profiles so people with existing collections can continue to enjoy using those miniatures in their games. Certain miniatures are being rolled into different profiles, while a few are being removed from the game. Additionally, some characters once had access to shields, horses, and so on, but we never sold a model with those options, which have now been removed from the game. So I guess to touch on that point quickly, so I mean, when they've said some characters once had access to shields and horses and things. So everyone has been saying, all these heroes like Elendil and all these kind of models which have access for horses and shields and things, they're just not going to get them now. But I don't read that as
It's
that
a
being
sum.
the case. You what
I
so?
mean, the problem with the article, as we'll find out as we go later, is it's still very vague. We don't
Yes,
know if this is the complete list that will go to Legacies
that's it as
because
well.
it says some characters that once had Shield Horse and so on be removed from the game. When we get to the list, I think there's only one on there listed. So it's there going, well, is it just one isn't some? So I'm assuming there's more, but they also haven't said which ones.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'm not sure that bit sort of means that those ones. Oh, sorry, that's my phone ringing. I'm not sure that means
so
that.
unprofessional.
I know it was my dad, so blame him. I'm not sure that means that like all of those characters that are having shields and horses removed and stuff should be in the list. I think they may be just sort of explaining that that is a thing that will be happening. But I think people have taken that as meaning if if a profile has access to a horse and they don't have a model, they won't be getting it moving forward. But that isn't what that says. That says some characters. So they're just letting you know that your
Yeah.
favorite character could lose their horse, but they also might not. Like, are they going to not have Elendil or
So
Gilgalad have horses? Like if they
Well,
were
you
trying
could
to
have
fit
one
it,
that still has a horse and one doesn't as well.
but like if they were trying to fit it into say
Like,
like the Last Alliance thing, right, where in the films you didn't see them on horses, then sure, maybe they would remove them, but it's not a confirmed thing. So like I think people may be freaking out about things being removed when they haven't said that that is the case for sure yet. So
but
yeah,
they haven't not said that's
they
the
haven't
case
not
yet.
said that, but like maybe put the fires out a little bit. That would be my take, like until we sort of know for sure. So yeah, okay. So moving into the lists, I guess. So the Fallen Realms, we see some Khan here to begin with. So I will not read through all of them. I'm sure most people have seen the article by now. If not, it's on the Warhammer community website. I will link it in the description. So basically, all of Mahud is going. All of Khand is going, and certain things from Far Harad are going, and Serpent Horde and Corsairs.
Yeah, on a completely unrelated note, if anyone wants to buy a Khand army, Sam Grattan is looking for buyers
He
at
is
the
totally
moment.
not looking for buyers. He is holding on to his card.
But,
The pink card.
yeah, I mean, a lot of this from the range that's going in Fallen Realms kind of like as expected. I think a lot of this may be covered in New Line Warner Brothers versions in upcoming films and the animated and like potentially beyond,
So
which
you think there
may
could
be
be
what.
new models?
Yeah,
Oh,
like so the Wayne Riders who are conned in our game may have something down the line potentially
right.
planned for New Line, so which will be
Yeah.
different to what we've got.
Because there is as well.
But
We saw in the trailer. There's like a mummock, isn't there? So there could be
yeah,
some scenes with Far Harad esque, miniatures that they have planned to bring models out
yeah,
for, which might replace some of these in
like
essence. So
yeah. So I feel like that's why. I mean, also a lot like the Karndish and Mahad are probably the least two of the least common ranges available
yeah,
in
they
armies.
did bring
So
them
if
hood
they are,
stuff back on a made to order, didn't they? Sort of fairly
yeah,
recently.
but but yeah, it sucks for those who have the. I mean, I've got like 24 half trolls at home, but
Adam's
like
got
as
those as
in,
well.
if you're gonna cut a couple of armies, which clearly they decided that they had to, it's not surprising. It's
That it
those
is
two
these,
really.
yeah. And I mean, is lots of this stuff Games Workshop inventions? This is sort of where I'm not too sure on this stuff, but
Yeah, no, no. I mean,
quite a
so
lot of it is, I think.
half trolls are like mentioned,
Okay.
but they're not necessarily like Games Workshop have taken it interpretation from it,
Yeah.
and
Like the
like,
Golden King he's invented, isn't he?
yeah.
What about like the Mahud stuff? Is that all mentioned
Um,
in the
well,
books?
Mahud is like a lot of this is extrapolating. So like
Yeah.
from one line, and then they
Yeah,
went
yeah,
and
sure.
invented a whole entire like
Yeah,
sub
totally.
faction.
Yeah. Because I've
Because
seen
it's
like lots of people talking about like licensing stuff and whether yeah, sort of like with New Line, like they've had to sort of cut back on certain, GW invention sort of rules and
I
stuff.
mean, as we'll go through, there's obviously some stuff that's been kept, which would be a GW invention, but I think some of the stuff which has probably gone from here maybe because the films are re-looking at those areas
Oh, is it?
themselves.
So they're going to add in more stuff
Yeah,
of those
like,
factories. So
but,
yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, the bottom line here is that obviously you can still use the profiles in Legacies. I guess we should maybe touch on towards the start of the video here about because like I saw the GBHL put up an article about sort of using it.
I
Using
think
the
we should do that at the end
profile.
of the video.
You think we should do it at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, we'll do it at
So,
the end.
no,
Stick
but
around,
we've
but
teased people to make sure that they either skip
sure.
to the
I thought lots of
end and
people would be
ignore everything.
interested in that part, but
Oh,
no.
you got to keep the juicy content at the end of the
Sure.
video.
Okay, fine, sure. Okay, we will move on then to Mordor. Where's Ashley Walker? He couldn't make it today. There is a lot being removed here. Things that profiles that people really liked. So the ring rates, for example, all of the named ones. I mean, starting there, what do you think about that? Obviously, lots of them
I mean,
again
we kind of
invention.
guessed that most of the named ring rates were going to go. I think in one of our previous videos when we first knew stuff was going to disappear. Um,
I do like them
Kamal
though.
sounds like he's gone though, which is the one which is surprising because he is
Is mentioned.
specifically mentioned and named.
Named, yeah. And like
Um,
I saw someone say like it brings the attention back to like the unnamed wraith profile. Like you'll just be taking ring wraiths, and that's kind of like an iconic sort of figure, and you
yeah,
don't see those very often, which is
I,
true. So
I don't know. You see them quite a lot, like as in they're
that much.
pretty common. I would say most events there's at least one or two like rolling
I
around in
guess I
this
guess I'm
competitive
thinking about
list.
like the higher end tables and stuff, right? But yeah,
But
I'm sure people are taking them at every event. Yeah, sure.
but yeah, also we don't really know what the profile is going to be like next season.
Yeah. And then as well, so I mean, you've got some older, obviously, sculpts here, things like Kardouche, Ashley Walker, Sad Noises, Orc Trackers, Ashley
Although
Walker, Sad Noises.
he'd gone off Cardiff though recently, hadn't he?
He has lately, as he's
This
started
is
to
why Cardiff
contribute.
is like going to
Yeah, they're like,
Legacy.
no one's using them now. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's bin him off. I actually bought a Kardouche though. But yeah, and then some newer sculpts as well. Some of the newer Forge World resin stuff. So Goroth and Zagdouche, obviously they came out with Gondor at War, which was what was that before COVID?
4 years ago now.
4 years. Okay, but then
Think so, maybe. I don't know.
I was really quite shocked to see Razgoosh and Musgur going. What do you think the thinking is with that? Is it, is the only real explanation that it's some sort of licensing thing? That's what I've seen kind of talking about.
Potentially, like a lot of this is extra fluffy stuff that Games Workshop were making up to keep the game going.
Yeah.
And they don't really have a basis in law, like as in there's no firm basis for them existing. It could also be they maybe didn't sell loads. It could be that I don't know. I feel like I mean a lot of this stuff I think we'll say as we go through is like Kardash, if you've got one, he can be an Orc Shaman. Musga, he can just be a normal Orc Shaman going forward. Zagdush, Goroth, and all of that can just be Orc Captain. So you can still use your models even if you don't want to use them as legacy. I think it must be just a case of these ones they decided that didn't fit with their idea of where the game's going,
where they're moving forward. Yeah, and I think there's a good point that you said a second ago, where like lots of these things, like say Razgoosh and Musgur, they came out with in recent years to try and keep the game alive. Well, maybe the game's at a point now where it has really picked up, and maybe sales are doing good. They've clearly put investment into the new starter set and things, so maybe they feel that they can cut their losses with some of these kinds of newer models and just focus on the newer stuff. So maybe that's a good sign. But obviously, to release things quite recently and then cut them.
Yeah, it feels a bit weird. Maybe it's just because no one likes AOL apart from AOL users, so they're just like getting the bin. But it's also worth pointing out Blackguard about it. It doesn't say captain of the Blackguard.
No, the captain's staying.
So
to hold the flag.
I think there may be like the list isn't as comprehensive, or I don't know, as a proofread, maybe to spell out exactly what isn't sure. Going.
But like the Blackguard are pretty cool looking models, but they've just never ever been seen. So like
they haven't been around for a while as well.
Yeah,
available.
Something like that makes sense, but I guess it's just a shame that they've never been used and now they're just getting rid. So fair enough. And then also like the Great Beast, Sad Dewey Evans noises. What do we think about that?
I'm not that surprised.
Yeah,
because if you scroll up, because it's got the picture of the Great Beast. Like while they appear in the film, they don't appear like that in the film.
No, they do not.
So I mean, it's not a massive surprise. It's like Mortal Stalkers going. It's me sad noises.
Ali sad noises, yeah.
But like, I mean, I'll maybe just use them as Hunter Orcs instead, because genuinely, has anyone ever painted the Hunter Orc models and liked and enjoyed painting them?
And they're not great.
No. They're the most painful models to paint in the world.
Yeah.
Comment below if you disagree.
Let us know. And then also, so miniatures being renamed or repackaged. So that's like a category as well in all these things. So like the Morgul Knights are becoming Black Numenorian Knights. So that confirms that Black Nuns are staying. They're not here. Or well, it might not be, because there could be more profiles going into Legacies as well. But it seems like maybe Black Nuns are staying. Happy Ashley Walker noises. The Witch King of Angmar. And then as well, miniatures removed from the game. Shagrat, the Shag Daddy. They removed Shagrat, but they kept Gorbag. Like what?
Well, no, so they're keeping, because remember you got to, so this is a miniature, not a profile removed from the game. So it's the Shagrat War Leader miniature. So the one with the shield. That's and the cleaver.
Sure, but they're keeping them on with the mithril coat.
Yeah, the mithril, the one which actually is what it looks like in the film.
Okay, so
which doesn't mean the War Leader profile will be going, like, as in you may have I mean, everyone's getting a new profile anyway, so
Yeah,
you may still have your free wound Shagrat, as
yeah,
opposed to the two wound sort of old school one. But
yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
so just that specific model's going.
Yeah, sure. Okay, fair enough. So that's just miniature rather than profile. Okay. You brought me back down to
Yeah.
earth there, Ali. So moving on, Gundabad and Dol Guldur. So Castellans. I actually have like 9 of those unpainted. So I'm gonna wait for their value to shoot up, hopefully. That's good. And the Spider Queen. Interesting, but I mean, maybe not
Yes, I hate the Spider
surprising.
Queen.
Not that surprising, I don't
Well,
think.
yeah, I mean, the Spider Queen is mentioned again in like the Hobbit sort of background, but the GW Spider Queen definitely doesn't look like the Mirkwood spiders.
No,
Um,
no.
and there isn't really a specific, and if you watch the Hobbit films,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, no,
spiders singled out as the Spider Queen, but
no, it's just the spiders. So like I sort of get it, but I mean, um, I don't know where the denizens of Mirkwood list goes, or are they just going to roll the spiders like into the Dol Guldur era or whatever? That seems quite likely
yeah, I
because there's
mean,
no leader there or anything. Like it seems like the profiles are just going to go into these other eras, and it won't be like its own thing.
yeah, I mean, you could have like a Warg chief leading it or something like that.
Yeah, or there could be like a Mirkwood one, yeah, that has
Yeah.
wargs
Or
and
maybe
spiders and
we
stuff.
don't even really know. Like we're assuming the game's staying fairly similar, but it could be you don't actually need heroes in every single one of
Yeah,
these
no,
lists.
for sure. That might not be a thing. Yeah. So yeah. So for Mirkwood, so Thranduil on horse being
Yeah.
removed, because obviously he is never seen in the films on a horse.
Yeah, I always think Fandor on a Horse came about more because they obviously filmed it with him on
Yeah.
a horse, and GW probably got the early stills and that to design models, but then
Yes.
didn't know the horse, which is also called, I think the horse is called Moose.
Really?
Like, yeah, was then being CGI'd as an elk. So I think that may have been like one of those, because there's a few instances of that in the Hobbit films where
Yeah.
like Bolg was went
Yes.
through like 3 or 4 different
Yeah,
designs.
yeah, yeah. Design things. No, well, that is exactly what happened with Thranduil because I didn't actually know that until my manager at the Warhammer store I worked at. We were talking about Lord of the Rings one day, and he told me that, and I was like, "What? Did that was that actually a thing?" And he said, "Yeah, they didn't even tell Games Workshop that that was happening until the film came out, and then they watched it, and he was on an elk, and they were like, what? Like we've just." Designed this model on horse,
Yeah.
so then they came out with the Forge World one. So not surprising to see it removed, but like I think some people would maybe sometimes take him on horse as opposed to elk.
Oh yeah, no one really like competitive gamer wise ever took him on the
No,
elk.
but like some people would,
Um,
but I
yeah,
think
it's usually on foot or horse, just
yeah,
as a
yeah.
kind of fragile delivery system.
But if you're
Uh,
wanting to mount him for fun, you
mm,
would rather do it on a cool elk than a horse anyway.
yeah,
So I'm not against that. Like that's fine. Yeah. So moving on to Isengard. So interesting here. So basically everything from Dunland being removed. So
yeah. So
Bryden, Frida, Gorolf, and then all the Dunlanding troops. Obviously the older ones and the newer as well, the Forge World stuff.
yeah, this one I feel like we possibly should have seen coming. It kind of did catch me off guard because it is all so new.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
whole entire range. And I built an army of Dunland at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Um,
You did.
but I guess it's because Dunland's are the new focus in the new film, and other than the Wildman and the Oathmaker, which appear in Fellowship and sort of
Yeah.
Two Towers, I think. Um, everything like is probably getting a redesign
Yeah.
in the animation, and it probably just doesn't fit. But
No. So as it says further down, yeah. So the Oathmaker, so he was part of the pack with Gorolf and Frida. I was really sad to see Gorolf go, especially like a fan favorite, I think, sort of within the game. Lots of people really like him, but he's going. So they're taking the Oathmaker out and they'll be repackaging him in his own sort of thing. So he's staying. But like I saw some people sort of saying like, you know, could the newer Dunland troops and things like not fit the aesthetic like at all to sort of like it must be quite different to just
you know what aesthetic they do fit though, because we joked about it on one of the first emergency
what
pods. As they go, the men of Condom.
yeah, oh yeah.
It's like genuinely, I don't think anyone would really have an issue if you basically just transported nearly your
Yeah,
entire sort of stuff over to Men of
yeah,
Condom.
no, yeah,
Um,
yeah, you'd save some money. But yeah, it's all going. So like quite surprising. But I mean, they have announced a lot of stuff, but they've shown us the plastic troop kit, but there must be more than that. Like, if it's going to be a focus, there must be some.
Right, you got all the heroes in that as well.
You've got the heroes, but are you
as on the
literally just
last pod,
taking...
we've got the Rohan traitors or whatever they call them.
Oh yes, but that's just a different upgrade for.
Well, we're assuming it is.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's either an upgrade of the same thing, or there's a different troop kit coming. Because here, for example, they've cut the Huskarls, the Horsemen, and the Warriors. So you wouldn't think the sort of one of the main factions that they're focusing on with the new edition would only be the heroes and the plastic troops like that.
But I do think this is definitely an IP new film coming out kind of acts.
This one seems the most,
I mean, Fair Urukai, I don't think I've seen one for this edition anyway.
I've never seen one ever. So there we go.
So that was top of people's ones to go.
Yeah.
Frascu always felt a little bit weird to me. As in, as a hero, he kind of he didn't quite fit the aesthetic, and I don't know why. It may just be me.
But he was OP. He was OP. Isengard players, sad noises right now.
I think the one people are most sad about in here, I say most, but confused about is Merher going.
Yes.
Because he appears in the books and the film several times and stuff like that.
And that's where kind of they're not being exactly consistent with the ruling on why things are coming out through the article.
I half think it may be because the model isn't a very good representation of the design in the film. Also, at this point, I'm going to say I have a slight feeling some of these heroes may be moving to Legacies now because they're not dealing with it at the moment, but it may be in a future, couple years down the line, supplement or update, maybe reintroduced with a new model.
Right. Yeah, could do. And they're just keeping it out sort of for now till they're ready to. Yeah, because obviously it's in sort of if the edition is the War of the Rohirrim, and who knows, there could be other films or things potentially coming that they might know about. They might want more content to kind of release. So and also as well, Grima on horse being removed. I saw some people were upset about that.
Yeah, well,
not that anyone ever really used him on horse, but some people have obviously converted him up and things, and but maybe they knew about this for a while because obviously they released the Saruman pack with him not on a horse.
Well, I mean, Green has never had a horse, so.
But he did have a horse in the game.
To be fair, he did actually in the film because he rides the horse away from
Edoras. Totally does. Yeah, so maybe they knew something. They were going to be purging things. At some point
they gave you the Palantir and the statue instead.
That's a good value for money there. Green no horse as well. So so moving on to Gondor. So your Knight of the White Tower. Sort of sad times.
I mean, I was kind of hoping that I think I made the thing because of where him and we'll get onto some others later were part of the command pack. It may mean that they stay. Alas, no, they were
we'll kick you out.
And this is going to be me at my most pessimistic. Who reckons that command pack will stay the same price?
Fair point. It's only going to receive a third discount or whatever, is it?
So my Knights of the White Tower, if I'm I know there'll be a legacy profile, but if I use them in game, may just become a King of Men now instead, or something like that, because they kind of work as that sort of model.
Cool, I'd say. So Anborn and Mablung, are they two of the newer ones that came out?
Yeah, they're the two new Rangers.
The two newer ones that came out. Was that in Quest of the Ringbearer?
Yeah. Back when Rangers of Aphelion were broken, at 650 points or below, and then they were, and everyone was waiting for the FAQ to ruin them, and they went, "No, we're not doing an FAQ. Here, have some more heroes."
There you go. Here's two more. So they're sort of again newer sculpts, but you rarely saw them. They were maybe sort of uninspiring sort of characters.
I mean, it was 10 points more damrod basically with a special rule.
Were they in the books at all? Were they named?
I think they were as two of the guys that found it was just chilling with, but
things might have been named in the books, but if they weren't sort of a key role, or they were really only named once or something, then it's maybe not surprising to see them.
And again, I feel like these two probably didn't sell loads, or they've gone, the people who wanted them have already bought them.
Yeah,
We're not reselling any more of them.
We haven't sold one in a year, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so men at arms as well being removed from fiefdoms. That's quite a key part of the fiefdoms list.
This is the greatest day for Axeman and Lossenark that has ever existed. Because they now have a purpose to exist. I feel like they probably went, we don't want to delete the fiefdoms faction, but like we'd just give each bit one sort of like troop. So men at arms getting shafted.
I actually have like 20 of them like unbuilt.
Yeah. So, I mean the Knights of Doran for the most famous bit. So like if you were going to get rid of one from that list, it probably would have been the Men at Arms.
Yeah,
not from a playing perspective, and also I think the models are cool. Actually, this is the other thing because where the pikes are all like
they are terrible. I have all of them.
That may be another factor into it. They were like the model quality wasn't
great.
There.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't just like axe the faction. Like they could have done that. Like Khan has been axed, so like but it's quite key sort of in the lore. So yeah, it's glad that it hasn't been. So I think that's about it. There's also Kirian and Beregond being removed as well.
No, Beregond's not being removed.
Oh, sorry, it's being repackaged.
Kirian's been removed, which I really have a fondness for the Shadow and the East supplement, which basically everything in there is gone.
Oh, no.
Beregond's quite actually pivotal in the book story. Him and Pippin have like a whole bromance going on. So he's going back to On His Lonesome. I feel like.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, moving on to the Misty Mountains. Oh, I mean Moria. I saw this as soon as it was sort of released, and I'm like, why haven't they changed this yet?
Oh, so they're using or going back to more the old names that they used to use, so like the Fallen Realms and Mordor.
Also, you don't think this is a mistake?
So I wouldn't be surprised if it like this is either how they will list it on the website in the future, or they maybe that is what they're going to call the fact. I don't know, the overall factions.
You know what? I hadn't even thought of it like that. So yeah, they've got Elven Kingdoms here to summarize, but like these are actually elf profiles, but obviously Misty Mountains means something completely different in the game now. But yes, maybe it won't do in the new maybe so. Okay, but so we've got some named heroes going. So Groblock and Ashrak being removed. AOL SAB player noises.
Well, I don't know. Ashrak's probably not as sad noise as. Put it this way, they still got Jurzak. So
yes, and he's been repackaged for Durbar. So yeah. And then so they've just got all of the Black Shield stuff being removed. I'm not
we kind of predicted that.
Yeah, that's sort of to be expected. I think that's a good change because it just kind of confused things for no reason really. So, but there's some interesting ones. So the Dweller in the Dark being removed.
That one doesn't surprise me either.
But a cool model, like and they've kept other sort of odd Moria things.
But when you think the Moria range has a lot in it.
Yeah.
And if you were going to get rid of one of like the big Griblies,
the odd stuff.
He's the one that you would get rid of. I mean, obviously, we'd rather no one got like chucked in the bin, but you can't get rid of the Watcher, you can't get rid of the Battle, you can't get rid of the Cave Troll.
You could have got rid of the Dragon, but I guess they think that's more interesting than the Dweller in the Dark, which I think I would agree with.
Yeah,
so that's okay. And also the Warg Marauder, interesting one there. But like,
I mean, I feel like this may be from a rules point of view.
Yeah,
like the Warg Marauder's always been a bit weird, like as a profile, like very good profile, but like weird in terms of how the mechanics work.
Lots of odd interactions and stuff, but like. The profile's cool, but and there's nothing like it.
The model's really cool as well.
Yeah, and the model's cool. And there's been lots of like 3D print sort of like ones that are similar. But so the Warg Marauder also going as well. But it will save some headaches for TOs, which bigger thing. So moving on to the Elven Kingdoms. So we've got the twins, and Glorfindel, but the unarmored versions being removed. So they're still going to be in the game with their armored versions. So is armor just going to be included in their profiles then as a baseline?
I guess so, which makes it feel really weird that they've the implication is they're writing an unarmored legacy profile, which is like, is it going to be
Yes.
exactly the same as your original
Yeah.
profile, just
Just
-2
yeah,
defense or
to
whatever it
defense.
is?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
I find this one like the most bizarre, at least how they've written it.
yeah, yeah. So I guess they're just going to bake the costs for the armor into their points values.
Yeah, but
The
I'm just
normal.
thinking, I don't think you needed to write entering legacies. You can just say these models are leaving the game. Like,
Yeah,
as in that physical model was leaving the game, like the
yeah,
Shadowgate
the
War
unarmored
Leader.
versions. Yeah.
Whereas this is like and entering. I
I guess it's like
have
if you still want to run your D5
yeah.
twins in Glorfindel, you can.
My, I mean, I half wonder because there are often mistakes sometimes in Warhammer community articles whether this is meant to be slightly split, like someone may have formatted this slightly wrong,
Yeah,
and it hasn't been picked up because it
yeah,
does feel weird the way
yeah.
that they've
Was
said,
it was it the
yeah,
same person who called the Moria stuff Misty Mountains? You know, like maybe someone who doesn't know anything about. They received the spreadsheet and they were like, you have to put this stuff in an article, and they don't know anything about MESBG. And
yeah,
it's like the biggest article to be released for the community in a long time. But yeah. So they've also removed some other profiles. So Gildor, the Stormcaller, and Eristor. I'm sad about Eristor.
yeah. Vince is going to be really sad because now how is he going to heroic march everywhere?
Yeah. I'm sad about Eristor. I love
It's a
Eristor.
really nice model as well.
I love my model.
Again,
He
the
hit home.
Gildor and like Eristor, I think everyone knew the Stormcaller was probably going to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah, which is fine.
But Gildor and Eristor are models which I think could be recycled in like several years'
It could be
times
later.
and
Okay.
come back in with a new model when there's a supplement that's
They
relevant
might
for them.
already have like a roadmap of the supplements that they're going to do. So they may have already, when they've made this list, gone, oh, okay, we're going to plan for X supplements so we can bring some of this stuff back. So
Yeah.
maybe they have a plan here. And then profile removed, unarmored Elrond.
See, this is the bit that confuses me. Why is there unarmored profile removed?
Yeah, so he's
And then
going.
Aladan and Elhir and Glorfindel unarmored
So
are
you
getting a
can't run.
legacy.
So you can't run your D5 Elrond, but you can run your D5 Glorfindel.
Yeah, that's why I think maybe all the unarmored ones were meant to go in profile
Yeah, it's
removed.
just removed. So now people will be expecting they'll be hyped to use their unarmored twins, but then the legacies will be released and they've been axed, and there'll be
Yeah.
riots in the streets.
It just seems weird, especially considering you do see Elrond unarmored
Yeah, the
throughout the
majority of
majority of all
yeah.
the
So
films. There's one scene you see him, or two maybe, we see him with armor on.
yeah,
Um,
Hobbit and
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
but yeah, okay, Elrond unarmored also being removed. So moving on to Rohan. So sort of Ali sad noises here.
Oh God, like it's everything apart from American brand, really.
Yeah,
I've kind of used this year.
yeah. Obviously from his Theodred's Guard days. So Grimbold and the Helmingus command, which obviously means the Helmingus upgrade as well, is going. Earl the Young, Erkenbrand, Rohan Outriders, Sons of Earl, which Ali loves very much, and the King's Huntsman.
Yeah, so I've now got a bunch of Rohan archers, a bunch of models
Nice.
which will be mounted Rohan captains.
Yeah.
One will have a throwing spear as well.
Yeah. Sound.
And then a really fancy looking archer guy who may be a
Yes.
captain with a bow.
Very much so.
Um,
I saw lots of people quite surprised that like models like Grimbold were removed, where like Elf Helm, for example, wasn't, because is he a Games Workshop creation?
no, they're pretty much all the Rohan characters I mentioned at some point. So
Okay.
Grimbold being removed. So I mean, I don't know how much of this is true, but like I got told a few years ago that essentially GW slightly fucked up when they were making Grimbold and didn't quite they didn't realize whoever was doing it, I think at the time, that he actually appears in the film. So they
Right.
thought that they could just make a model for him, which
Oh, I
is why he
see.
ended up not having a horse.
Then they realized, oh,
Yeah, and then they have never been able to change him since because of where they didn't want to highlight that error. So I think that's why they just got rid of him.
they just wrote it out to the very end, and they
But,
knew one day we'll
like,
just
cool,
axe the fucker.
we'll
Yeah.
get rid of him, and then we'll do another. Again, I think this is another model which would do another Rohan supplement at some point. Pretend Grimbold never existed
And go,
previously,
Grimbold!
and here he is, and he'll have a horse and stuff like
Sure.
that. I think that's probably why Grimbold like it makes sense why Grimbold would go in that sense.
Yeah, maybe there are plans.
Yeah, like Elder Young as well. I'm really sad about. I really like Elder Young, just
Yeah,
as
I
a
like
like
her as well.
model, but again, I can see a future supplement like in many years' time where, that's another one where you could get Warner Rohan to the prequel. Like
The prequel to the one, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
where Elder Young like comes in, and that may also be why they got rid of Kyrian as well, is because that's an area that it
Okay.
doesn't mean they are doing it as New Line
No.
Cinema, but it's possibly one that they put a like pin in going, oh, that's
Yeah.
an idea we can do.
And they might just be wanting to keep their options open as well. They might not have
Mm.
everything confirmed yet in said roadmap.
Yeah.
So they might just want to have flexibility with things. But like, yeah, seeing the Suns go as well, like I think the interaction with like Earl and the Suns is
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, the Suns never had a foot model anyway, so
True that.
like in a weird space in the game where like they had their mounted version but not their foot version.
Yeah, that's unusual. Yeah, and then the Rohan commanders have been repackaged without the King's Huntsman. So King's Huntsman also going as well, which I think was a cool profile. But
oh, it's genuinely terrible, but it was a cool profile.
yeah, I think it's cool. But yeah, just an unmentioned thing. So in the books or anything. So okay, moving on to the saddest part of the video. Ali King, get the tissues out, folks. The Dwarven Holds, miniatures being removed. Murin and Jar, Balin, the King of Moria, Floy. You got your use out of him.
Yeah, I got my one event where he got a Staff of Power for free.
Maybe have some insider info. Who knows? The King's Champion coming to a bat rep near you very soon as well.
And then never again.
And the Shield Bearer. And then the Dwarven Commanders being repackaged without the Shield Bearer. So come on, Ali.
So Jar never got his 3+ shoot value despite being an expert shot. Moon and Jar doesn't surprise me. They're quite cool addition to the game, but they are an addition to the game basically and the lore.
Yeah.
Balin, this is because I kind of always thought this Balin profile would kind of go / get merged with the Hobbit Balin profile. So for me, again, it's an interesting one they're writing a legacy profile for. I thought they would just be like the models going, and then we're going to have a unified Balin, which is what they're probably doing, but sounds weird that they're doing a legacy.
Yeah, moving there. Yeah,
Floyd's going because rules writers hate him.
TOs hate him even more.
The Shield Bearer and the King's Champion is sad. One of the more worrying trends is a lot of the unnamed heroes of getting like dropped, and I mean we don't know this for certain, but because we're going to a Legendary Legion style army list building, which we don't know what that means totally. You could still maybe ally in that, but it does mean I feel like a lot of the list maybe you have this 1 or 2 heroes and the captains, and so a lot of variety in your hero selection if you're getting rid of the unnamed heroes is going, which I mean it doesn't like, let's say, fill me with joy if that happens.
Yeah, but there's just far fewer combinations and things that you can try.
Like you may just get a lot of, even more so than we thought, pre-built lists, to be honest.
Yeah.
But again, we could be wrong.
Options.
So who knows? But yeah, the King's Champion going. While the model was really good in terms of in the game, aesthetically, it was probably my least favorite out of the Khazad range. Yeah. The Roman Centurion vibe, I don't think quite fit with the
it is a different
sort
of style.
The banners were good though. Shield Bearer again is kind of sad. But
is anyone that sad other than you though to see the Shield Bearer go? Has anyone?
I mean, you could have made it into a better profile, but I use it a lot more last edition than this edition. But a lot of the Durin and Mardin are going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting and hopefully get way more cost efficient and better profiles for Khazad.
Hella OP right now. Come on. They've been gutted. Ali's going to have to pack away his dwarves.
I'm not. I'm just going to have to only run Durin and more Vault Warden teams. That's the highlight for me. Is all of the troops have stayed.
Yeah,
because that was one. Some people thought Kazvin was just going to get completely nuked, like can't have and stuff like
yeah.
that. But no, they're still around.
The truth is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like Durin. I know lots of people don't, but seeing more lists with him, maybe he'll be better. So that would be good to see. So the Kingdoms of Men, so the Rangers of the North and the Dunedain being repackaged, so they're not being
Or be named.
removed.
So they may just become one.
Sure. Yeah.
And sort of packaged together. So it's just
in one. Yeah.
Simplifying it.
Yeah. So that's that. And then the three people, so they mentioned about Banda Brastuk being removed and put into Legacies. And then the Quick Beam renamed as Birch Seed controversy. What do you think the idea is behind that one?
So I don't know whether you've seen, but some people posted up on the Facebook groups the picture of the Weta concept art, and essentially the picture that is next to Quick Beam doesn't look like the GW Quick Beam.
Oh,
but,
I didn't know that.
But the Birch Seed. So it looks like basically whoever sculpted it kind of took the wrong end picture.
Right. They sat down and
Yeah, and so it's basically they're going, cool. But that one is a genuine model, like as in it's a genuine name and stuff like that Weta designed. So it's just a rename. It's a bit like the Bulk thing, probably as well.
Yeah. So that's fine. The model's not going. Like, I guess as far as Ent models go, it's a cool one. So it's staying shop. It's being renamed. So that's everything being removed. So overall take on things. What do you think?
I mean, genuinely, this is all going to come down to what armies you collect. Like, I think I worked out every single army I've taken this year, at least one model in it has gone to Legacies.
Because Anna uses such fringe armies.
Yeah, that's my problem. But so there'll be some people who'll be like, "Oh, it didn't really affect me that much. I've just lost maybe one or two heroes I didn't really consider anyway." There'll be other people who like love. Put it this way, if you're an evil man player, you've been hit incredibly hard. And so people's perspectives will vary depending on how badly they've been hit. I'm going to sound slightly optimistic and say some of this stuff is because there'll be new things that would contradict with the GW stuff coming in.
To come. That is a perspective I hadn't thought of. And I'm not sure I've heard many people saying, maybe there has been on the Facebook and things. But they could just be paving the way for other stuff. They might have a firm idea on other supplements that they're doing and they need to make room for things, or they might want to keep options open. They've got lots of different directions they could go in, and they could be bringing some things back or making new profiles for those lists. So there's reason for optimism.
And also it could have been worse.
It could have been worse. So then also, I guess, to not be so optimistic for a moment after being optimistic, is that this could not be all of it. They haven't said this is the full list of things being removed. There could be more. They might have just wanted to give us an idea of what's happening. They might have wanted to gauge the reaction on things as well, maybe. So
the interesting thing for me is the Hobbit stuff has barely been mentioned other than like Frangil in here, which kind of makes sense because that range was pretty tight to the films. But when it comes to the ring wraiths, so I'm guessing all of those names that they've given those ring wraiths are fine. Like the Forsaken and the Lingering Shadow and stuff like that.
In the Hobbit,
because they've had to get rid of. Because I don't know if they were actually named in the film specifically. Because I know Kamal was, but
maybe they are like in the subtitles or something. Maybe,
possibly. I don't know, because it's interesting that they've gotten rid of one bunch of named ring wraiths and then
not the others.
The other ones, I'm like, I'd expect those models to stay, but it's kind of like they haven't mentioned like the names are changing or stuff like that.
Either it's fine or this isn't everything that's being removed. So again, we're just really not 100% sure on exactly what it means.
I feel like a lot of the models who are mounted who don't have mounts or vice versa haven't been mentioned if they are necessarily going because of the way, like we discussed all near the start.
Hardly any of them really have been named. So, and that isn't to say that all of them are as well. And if there was a shield upgrade available for a particular hero. Like they might not just not be removing all of those. Like they might keep a fair amount of them still, but just some of them they want to remove for whatever reason.
Do you want me to do some real fear mongering as well,
Oh
just
dear,
to
Ali,
scare
go on,
people?
go on
It's
then.
like if it's going a bit more to sort of models we make.
Mhm.
Do you still believe that you can have a bowman with a spear as well?
Are we gonna have only just
Like,
gonna
as
have bows in
in,
the
so
front
you
rank?
can exchange your like thing for a bow, a
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
like because they started to do that with banners in the new rules, stuff
yeah.
like that. You exchange your gear, so it may be a case of your 1/3 that you get in the box. You can't have like bow and spear. It'll be you can have a bowman,
Yeah,
a
they
guy
want
with
to keep
shield,
it.
or a guy with shield and spear, or stuff
They're
like that.
very vanilla. Well,
Yeah.
there's lots of different directions they could
Just
go.
because I thought people weren't like freaking out enough, and
No, no, no.
I've
You
done
just thought
I've
you'd
done the
add in a
positive
bit of
bit. I thought
yeah,
I'll just throw an
sure.
extra like.
We're at the end of the video. We don't.
Well, we got one more thing to talk about,
We do,
which
yes.
is
So
the tournament
the
stuff.
GBHL, yes. So there was an article put up. Now, I was worried when I saw the article because I thought, I hope they haven't confirmed anything because I
Oh,
saw
I
lots
feel
of.
like we should just clarify, by the way, I'm not actually any part of the GVHL committee
He is
or
not.
League Corneo anymore.
He
So
is not. So he is. Yes, yes.
I
Free
do
to
not
give his
speak on
views.
behalf of
The
any of
God.
them.
No, but you do for the Gons gamers. So I was worried that maybe that was the tone the article could have had because I have seen lots of TOs saying that they will be doing certain things, which I think maybe isn't the right approach at this point because I think the approach that the GBHL took in its article was the right way because they've sort of said, we're not sure exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no, basically, we don't even know what the edition's going to be like.
exactly,
We don't know what
there
legacy
could be,
profiles look like.
and I haven't really seen like too many people. I've seen lots of people saying, "Oh, I'll allow you to use this and things like that." But like, I haven't really seen too many people sort of saying like, "Well, we don't exactly know how they're all
Mm.
going to interact yet." Like these eras, for example, like these Legendary Legion style lists, they might not interact in any way with the legacy models. Like,
Yeah.
it could be a completely separate thing. So to say I'll be allowing legacy models. Like it might not work at all. There could be like certain
Mm.
bonuses and buffs
So
that these eras get that the legacy models wouldn't get if you were to include them. So
my thought process as a TO who runs like big competitive events is they're going, in theory, yes, I'll be happy for people to use legacy models. In theory. However, the areas which of concern are if we're moving to Legendary Legion style sort of list, we don't actually know these profiles are going to be assigned a Legendary
yes,
Legion style.
yeah.
Like, for
So
example,
yeah,
Elder Young won't be joining any Rohan list. So we
exactly.
don't know if he
Yeah,
will, along with Legacy, whether you've gotten a list written for
yeah.
you.
He might just live
Um,
in the Rohan section of the legacies document, but that might not
yeah,
link to anything in
yeah.
the new edition of the game,
It,
and
it
that
could
might
just
mean
be
he's
if you do,
terrible.
yeah, it could be that if you just do open play, like that, these profiles are for you kind
Sure,
of thing.
which is
So it
which
may
is
not be
fine.
matched. Which if that's the case, it then becomes quite a bit more complicated for TOs to, because there won't be a unifying thread going, these people should go in there, these people should go in there.
But are there tournaments that don't use match play, like open play is just when?
Open play is just you playing your mates and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. The
so
tournaments don't use that though, do they? Like,
no.
no.
So it's like they're going, that could be a problem if that's how they do it. However, they may have like written lists for, or like, and said the Knight of
Yeah.
the White Tower can go in X,
Yeah,
Y,
they
Z
might have
list.
clarified how some profiles within
Mm,
Legacies interact with these eras from the new edition if you wanted to do that.
yeah.
Or it
Which,
could just be a black hole where they've just
yeah,
put legacy models and they're like, right, they're just there.
yeah.
There's no
So
support or anything.
one thing would be pretty easy and doable for TOs, and I wouldn't see an issue. The other one then becomes a much more complicated can of worms.
Yeah.
There's also the thing of if these models end up being broken, like just one or two of them,
Yeah.
they will not get updates. They won't
Yeah.
get, and even if the rules are written badly, they won't get an FAQ like clarifications, and then that itself can then become complicated
Well, they could
because
do.
no, they've said in the previous article they will not do so. Legacy things will
They
not
won't
be
be up.
getting covered in erratas and
Oh,
stuff like
really?
that. Yeah.
Oh.
So they won't be getting future support from GW. Like what they come out in Legacy,
So maybe that means then that they aren't going to interact in any way with the things because they'd have no way of fixing anything that could potentially break the game in a sense.
Well, yeah, but that's the problem. Like the best thing that can happen for Legacy is actually they're underpowered, and none of them are particularly good because then they're less controversial to let people use in the game, and they're just a cool, quirky thing.
Sort of like upset about, but they're not going to be supported anymore. Ultimately, that is their line. So if they're not being supported, they can't impact the game moving forward in a negative way. Really.
Yeah. My prediction actually for the Legacy stuff is TOs will probably let it for the first year and maybe the second year, but there will become a point where they will just half naturally phase out, half just TOs will just stop saying that you can use them.
I think they're not going to work, if I'm honest. I think the game is going to be set up in a way where the eras or the Legendary Legion sort of lists, you can't just add in these profiles that aren't included in those lists. So I think for tournament play, you're not going to be able to just drop them into other lists. And also as well, with the updates to profiles, are these profiles going to get the new stat, the intelligence?
So I was chatting to some others about this, going it could literally just be all of these profiles are exactly as they are now.
Yeah, they're just going to copy and paste it there. Exactly.
And they've just given them an intelligence stat. And that's
they've given them the stat.
Yeah, as in I could see that being a thing that they've done.
They might not have scaled the fight value and things as well. There could be other changes to profiles and things that they're making that they won't have applied to those profiles. Or it could be everything going into Legacies, they've given the same treatment as everything that's staying with the changes, and then they're putting them in Legacies so that they can be used in the new edition.
Yeah.
It could be the case, but I don't think it will be personally.
Yeah, I think because they were slimming down the game, it feels like a lot more work they would have given themselves for profiles, which don't mean much. However, if they have done it, I will say kudos to the rules writers for doing it.
But if they have done that though, and then they put them in Legacies, and then they can't be changed, or not that they can't be, but
but they just won't be. They won't be.
They've said they're not going to be updated. Then that could be an issue for the game. So
there's a bit of fear mongering.
Yes, to close out the video. But everyone's just going to have to wait and see when it drops, how Legacies interacts with the new edition. I just there's no guarantee it does interact.
We also won't get Legacies anyway we won't get the Legacies in when the new edition comes out. It will be 6 months after whenever the second book comes out. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting that first. Yeah, the first few tournaments in the new edition, because you're going to have a very slimmed game.
Yes.
Because it will just be it's just the books, not the books, the films stuff.
Yes. So and then the Legacies will come out, and then we'll see what happens from there. So I think that's going to do it. So again, this might not be everything that's being axed. Who knows? But we shall see. So Ali, your prediction was second week of November?
Yeah.
So we could be back for another Emoji podcast
in 5 minutes.
So this is the first week. We are in the first week now, right? Yeah. So next week, who knows? Maybe this time next week.
Well, to be fair, with Friday and it's the 1st of November, I'd say the next going from Monday is the first week of November.
There's a prediction change there.
No, sure. I mean, okay, we can go from until next Thursday or Friday then as the first week of November. Sure. I don't think they have actually done, but I don't think they would announce it on a Saturday or a Sunday.
It seems unlikely. So I think that's going to do it though. So hopefully we will have some more updates about the new edition in the very near future, as hopefully it's coming out around Christmas time. We are getting there. So more emergency podcasts to come. But I think that's going to do it. So thank you very much everyone for watching another emergency podcast from the Gollum's Gamers.